Hello everyone, my name is James Carter and this is my wife, Jessica Carter.
And we would like to invite you to Heart Matters with James and Jessica Carter. This is a show where we're going to invite you guys into our everyday conversations as we talk about love, marriage, music, business, ministry, and everything else God has allowed us to put our hands to. This is our way of inviting you guys into our lives for just a small moment on Friday nights. We began dating when I was 17 and he was 15.
I don't know why, but she keeps saying, yeah, although I was 15, I was about to be 16. You can't not throw that in there because my birthday was in 2 months, 2 or 3 months.
But you were 15 regardless of how you...
But think about it, that's like, you might as well go ahead and say the next age. I mean, 2 or 3 months. That means I've been 15 for 10 months. I mean, that's practically a year, give or take,
No, but you don't celebrate your birthday 2 months ahead of time.
But when you say 15, everybody want to start talking about, oh, he was so young. And blah. No, I was 16.
It's kind of crazy that he actually said what he said about the age thing because that was one of the factors that made me not want to date him because he was younger than me. And I felt that younger guys were immature because, we've always been told that girls mature more than boys. And I was already mature for my age anyway.
But the thing is, when I put that, I kind of gave her that eye. You know what I mean? I threw that eye at her real quick, and that's all it took. After that, she'll say she wasn't, but when I started telling my story, y'all will understand. She was head over heels. It was, I can't tell this particular. I'm going to say it, but I got to wait till I tell you guys my story. Go for it.
Okay, let's be real.
But as she said, according to her, she didn't want to date me because I was younger than her, but I was destined to show her that I was, but you know what, well, I'll say this. The Holy Ghost told me that she was going to be my wife. And
when he said that, I was like, dude, it's tripping.
And I said this to her. I literally told her this, and she didn't believe nothing I was saying. And because I was younger than her, 15, 16, I was younger than her, or whatever the case may be. But look.
He said that, right? And he actually told that to my mom, which I was like, okay, dude is crazy. Like I said, I'm not going to be your wife. I'm not going to be anybody's wife because I was going to grow up. I was going to be a judge. And I was not really planning to do the whole marriage and kids thing.
Y'all see that?
That wasn't really in the cards for me at the time.
Y'all see that? I'm just saying, this how I got it. This, my bad, I ain't going to keep going.
But one of the things that won me over from him, which I think is probably the most important thing that won me over, was the fact that he was persistent and he really meant it when he said that he felt like God had told him that I was his wife. I can remember when we were on the phone one day talking, because really he asked me for my phone number, and at the time I had a phone line and my mom had a phone line. I gave him my mom's phone number.
Spoiled, literally. Keep going.
I gave him my mom's phone number. So he calls my mom's phone, and I know at the time, my mom was you're not going to talk to boys, and you're not going to be in a relationship and all that stuff. So I was like, okay, my mom can shoot him down. I don't have to worry about it. It turns out, my mom loved this guy. So she gave him my number. Funny thing, so when he called my phone, I'm like, how'd you get my number?
I'm telling y'all, it's all about the eye.
And he's like, your mom gave it to me. And I was like, oh, okay. So we talked for a little while. And so he asked the question, if I asked you to be my girlfriend, would you say yes? And I said no. And so he hung up. Like he literally hung up the phone on me. And this was like in October, November, early November. And then my birthday came later that month, and he bought me this huge teddy bear with this gold necklace with a cross around it that I thought was absolutely beautiful. And I was like, oh, he's a very sweet guy. But I still was like, I don't really know. He could be just trying to shoot game. And
she was head over heels over that point. Keep going. I don't want to stop her story.
I was not.
That was it. But,
I was not.
And let me go back to the mother story real quick. They told me, I learned that if you get in good with the mom, you practically got the daughter. So I had to make sure.
So he running game on my mom.
It wasn't. No, I wasn't doing that. I had to get this. Because I understood that she was my rib at the time. But for some reason, she couldn't see it. And the Holy Ghost had showed. Well, let me say this. I want to say this is just a portion of my story. When we first got down to the church where they were at, I remember we had a second service on this Sunday, and I was a drummer. I was playing the drums. And, I had told God I was done with women. We had just moved down to the church.
He's like 15, but he's done with women.
I was done with, she'll tell you I was way more mature than my age, as I am now. But I was done with women, and I happened to be sitting in there.
Somebody broke his heart in the second grade.
Don't tell that.
And so now he's done with women.
My heart is good. No, I'm just playing. But listen, it was second service, and I was playing the drums, and she happened to walk in. I still remember the day. I remember the dress. She had on it was a long blue dress with flowers in it. And I was playing the drums, and they happened to come up. They showed up late. She rode the church van or whatever. They showed up late, and as I was playing. And she was walking in. I remember when I looked, it was like a glow was over or something like that. So I took my drum and said, man, that's crazy. So I kept playing the drums. I said, man, did I really see what I thought I saw? And I turned back around and I looked again. And again, it was another glow. It's almost like it had got even more brilliant this time over. And I said, man, that is crazy. So I kept playing the drums. And after church, I began to pretty much ask God, what does that mean? And in my mind, only thing I can, only conclusion I could come to was that was my wife. So from that point on, I began to pursue her. And like I said earlier, according to her, I wasn't going to, I'm not dating anyone younger than me and blah, blah, blah. Although I went through a couple of times doing, some different things. I had my cousin come and talk to her, and she didn't want to talk to me. No, I'm not going to talk to you, blah, blah, blah. Then there was a particular time when she had hurt her leg. I don't know if you remember this. She had hurt her leg, and they was building a new church right up the road from where we was at. And
he thought he was slick that I didn't know that he had to be the one to come over and try to have me to, okay, stand up on my shoulder, I'll help you walk.
Hey.
I wasn't crazy.
Dude, y'all better take notes. But listen, yeah. So what happened was she hurt her leg, and I came over. I had her, throw her arm up on my shoulder and stuff. Got a little close, Hey, we didn't do stuff that we weren't supposed to do. We just, put up, got up in the van, helped her up in there, let her know, I'm a man, I'm a gentleman. Although it looks like I'm younger than you, I'm a gentleman. Got her in the van, took her over we got over to the church in the van. Got off, I'm helping them through as we walking through and, noticing, how they're actually building the church and stuff. But I wasn't studying all that. I was too busy saying that this is my wife and I got to do what I got to do. You know what I'm saying? So.
And that was the start of the little things that began to kind of matter to me. Like I said, with the whole teddy bear thing on my birthday is something that he didn't have to do because we weren't even like friends at the time. I was friends with his sister and his cousins, but not really with him because I didn't really talk to, a whole lot of the guys in the church. And that Christmas of that same year, he showed up at my house. Mind you now, they lived about a 45 minute to an hour drive from the church and my house. So he showed up at the house.
Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Hey, you got to do what you got to do to get what God has given you. Keep going.
He showed up at my house with like these bags of gifts. And I was like, wow. And I began to go through the bag. And the thing that really touched me, contrary to what a lot of people thought that I said, oh yeah, I like him because he did, this for me. And it was about the monetary things or the material things, but it really wasn't that. The material things was just like a door opener for me to see into his heart, because the things that he bought me for Christmas were like, I've always had long nails. I've always been kind of fascinated with my hair and stuff like that. So he bought me like this manicure set that had like this dryer and everything for your nails, and then he bought me this set of curlers for your hair. Then also in there was a box with a nice, beautiful ring in it that he said would be a promise ring because God told him that I was going to be his wife. And so
sometimes
I thanked him.
You got to do what you got to do. I had to let her know that, hey, God told me this, he showed me this, it's going to happen. So that's why I bought the ring and I brought it to her because I kept saying it, but obviously she didn't believe me. And when I brought it and I saw the look on her face, that pretty much solidified that, this was my wife for real.
And I thought it was the most beautiful thing, and it was kind of a reminder of, the love that Christ has for the church, is that even though we sometimes reject his love, that doesn't stop him from showing us love. And that's what he did. And I thought that was so amazing because, okay, maybe he isn't like all the other church boys. Maybe he is different. There's something about him differently that I need to get to know. And so in January of that following year is when the question came again. If I asked you to be my girlfriend, would you say yes?
That's what guys do.
And I said yes, but guess what? He didn't ask.
Did you say yes then? No,
I said yes, and you did not ask me.
No, the first time you said no.
Yeah,
I
that
think
was the
you
first time back in
joking
October.
and playing. No, I think you said no again this time. You was joking and playing. And then I asked you again. You kind of...
But it was that same night, though. I mean, the first time I was joking that night, but, you know, the second time I was serious.
With guys, you don't joke. You know that ain't really...
Well, I said yes, and then you didn't even...
Yeah, I mean...
You didn't even ask me. We just kind of... I guess you kind of just assumed that, you know, that was it.
And that's another thing.
And that's history.
And you know what? And from what she just said, as far as guys, we don't really know how to communicate. We're not really communicators, so to say. And she'll begin to tell you that in more videos to come. Pretty much all story about how, you know, she pretty much had to teach me how to communicate. I didn't like all that want to talk, and, you know, we'll be up in the middle of the night. She beat me up with pillows, and I try to go out into the into the living room and go to sleep out there, and probably about an hour later, so she in there hitting me over the face with a pillow saying, "Get up, we need to talk." I'm like, I gotta get up in a couple of hours and go to work, and why can't we just, you know, see each other tomorrow and deal with it then?
But that was my thing, though. I felt like it was not a good thing, and I still feel like that. And I mean, I'm happy that now we're on that same level where we both have that understanding. Is that I don't feel that you should go to bed angry. I know a lot of people say, "Well, that's crazy," yeah. And I say that because I don't know what'll happen in the middle of the night. You know, we can't predict what will happen. And my thing is, what happens if one of us don't wake up, and then he's left with the guilt of the last argument that we had, or if he doesn't wake up, I'm left with the guilt of the last argument we had, and we never got that opportunity to kind of get it right. And I felt like the times that we were able to, that I forced him to talk to me, has built us to where we are now, to where we talk about any and everything, situations that some people probably would not share with their spouse, or that they may think is unimportant. We share those type of things because sometimes he can give me a different perspective from something that I may be looking at something one way, and he may say, "Well, maybe you should probably look at it this way," or maybe you're reading too much into it, and that may not have been what they meant. So that helped to open lines of communication between us. Those nights of, "Oh no, you're not going to go to sleep. You're going to talk to me about this thing." We're not going to bed angry.
Tedious nights.
If we have to stay up 3 or 4 hours later than usual, we're going to stay up, and then we'll work it out, and we'll both go to PT in the morning, happy and smiling.
And another thing I want to say too, she just kind of sparked some thoughts in my mind, that with guys, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say this. With guys, especially in marriage, I've learned that I learned this at the beginning of our marriage. You know, kind of as we start hitting that, you know, not really a downturn or a downfall, but when we start kind of getting into some, you know, me getting to know her and her getting to know me. I learned this about myself, that, or not just me, but like I said, I think it's in guys general. You're not intimidated. Well, I guess the right word would be intimidated by your wife, based on the fact that she stays with you. But sometimes we don't understand that it's through our wives that we learn who we are, because the Bible says that we have to become one. And if I don't get to understand her, then how can I get to understand me? So that means that it's a portion of me that I don't know. But I had to learn that over time. It took time for me to really understand that, because she would come in, "Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that?" Like when I was the minister of music. "You know, you need to go talk to this person. You need to do that." I'm like, just stop. Because although I knew what she was saying was right, it was right. I didn't want to hear it because it was coming from her. You know what I mean? And then I got accused, which I'm pretty sure it was probably right, of listening to like someone else would say something. And in her mind, I said the same thing a week ago. I said the same. So I had to kind of go and reevaluate myself based on, you know, what I was hearing coming from my wife. And this sometimes a lot of times that's a hard thing to do for guys. You know, we don't really go for it. You can say.
And sometimes that takes time to build that type of dynamic.
And it's a trust thing.
It is, and then for me though, I know that I can be aggressive sometimes, and that's one thing that I'm grateful that he's kind of helped me with, is that, you know, I felt like if I said it, then you should do it because I'm right. Not that sometimes I didn't give him opportunities to kind of sit down and think through what I said. I would always say something and then expect for him to act like right away. Yeah. And that doesn't always happen. And sometimes, you know, while he's thinking about it, somebody else may say the same thing, and it seems as if he's doing it because they said it, and ignoring what I said. No, it's just that he's had time to think about what I said. And so so many times we try to force a change. Yeah. And I think that's one thing that I'm grateful that he has taught me without even realizing that. He's taught me that you can't force a change in anybody. You can offer your opinion, you can offer your insight, and you let them marinate on it and think about it and then make a decision on how they will react to it, especially in marriages and in marriages that are in ministry, because sometimes something that I may see that he may not quite see right now, and I may say, well, this is what God is showing me, or, this is kind of what I see, this is what I discern when I'm looking at a situation, and he may say, well, I don't really see that right now. It may not be time for him to see it. And I may have spoken too quickly. God may have shown it to me for me to pray about it and not necessarily talk to him about it quite yet. And then at the moment when it's time for me to reveal certain things, he's more receptive of it because now the time is. And that's something that I've had to learn, that he's taught me even about my ministry, and when God shows me certain things, to be able to sometimes sit down, pray about it before I open my mouth to speak on it, because sometimes it's not always the right time to say it just because you see it. Yeah,
and also based on what she was just saying, another thing is I learned, and I think we both learned, in the relationship that, and it took all this stuff that we're talking about now. It's not just an overnight thing that we learned, and you would think that we've been married for 30 years, but we went through a lot of stuff, and over time we began to go through it together and not separately. And that's another thing that I think a lot of marriages fail because they try to go through particular things in their marriages alone, as far as arguments. They get mad at each other, or he's trying to figure out his stuff on his side and she's trying to figure out her stuff. When we learned to start doing stuff together, it taught us this, that if I put her needs above my needs and she puts my needs above her needs, then we're both being taken care of. Like, say I'm riding down the road and I think about my wife, and I say to myself, oh, man, my wife needs some flowers, and I buy flowers. And she say the same thing, man, my husband needs a new tie, or he needs a new this. By the time I get home, by not thinking about myself and thinking about her, she got what she wanted, flowers or whatever I thought about getting her. And I got what I needed or what I wanted based on her thinking about me. So everything was taken care of based on the fact that I was thinking about her and she was thinking about me. And that right there didn't just come overnight again. It took us time to grow into understanding that we are one.
And so, with that said, we're going to ask you guys to join us next week as we continue into the selfless love that he began talking about on